5, 4, 3.
You didn't say 2 or 1.
You ruined it, Josh. Now we have to do it again. Live from the Basement of Death studio, it is Playin and Slayin, episode 76.
It's one of the best of all time.
Wow, he's bringing it for 76.
We might have to use that for every episode and just have him say the number going
Say
forward.
the number.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, just like what's her name? Carrie this thing.
Carrie Underwood.
Teams. Carrie Underwood. Yeah.
I'm just, I'm bringing the energy because I'm so excited to be here with you guys talking about games and stuff and things.
Hey, speaking of bringing it, this is only going to apply to people that watch. But I took a lot of heat last time for my attire and my lack of beverage. So I just need to talk for a second, Ty, while I do this.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So on this episode, I'm glad you went the Jason Kelsey route. I thought the whole shirt was coming off.
I mean,
he's chugging a beer.
So
Love it.
Please, so if you're on audio, you might need to tune into the video to at least see the first of.
All right, we're good.
I wish
Jason Kelsey.
Next time though, I need the Stone Cold 2 beers.
I've thought about it, but I'm moving and I don't want to clean up the mask.
Because Stone Cold says so.
Good work.
All right, so that's enough fun. Let's get down to business. Episode 76. We're going to talk Midwinter Gaming, and since it is still technically the month of January at the time of recording, we're going to kind of prognosticate and talk about what's coming. And that prognostication, I stole that from Cubic Shenanigans. You guys should go listen. Brendan and Dan do a little bit of prognostication about mainly Warhammer stuff, but it was a fun listen as they kind of did a little bit of guessing what's coming and educated guessing in some cases. So but let's talk about what's really important. We see that Bryce is drinking, and when you're playing in Slayin, it's important to stay hydrated. So Bryce, what was that you showed off for the folks on YouTube?
It's my favorite brewery that I think everyone would be familiar with by this point. But this one is called the Friendly Pirate. And it's got this cool undead pirate with his eye blowing out.
Nice.
Sweet.
It's a fruited sour, obviously. It's actually a ghost slushy sour, and it might be the best one I've ever had.
I like that.
So check your local grocery stores.
Yeah, because Drecker, they're out of somewhere in the
North
Central.
Dakota.
Yeah. Excellent. Josh, what kind of liquid death are you drinking tonight?
No liquid death. I'm drinking a Powerade Zero mixed berry flavor. It's delicious.
We're going to need you to cover the label, though. Powerade's not one of our approved sponsors.
It is a Zero.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Troy, how about you? What do you got tonight?
I have good question. Here we go. I have Bridge Up Brewing Company, which is Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin. Amber Sunset, so it's our amber ale. I think I had their snowshoes and snow boots or whatever it is, their black ale one. Other than one of the previous episodes, this is their amber ale, which is a nice amber in there.
Excellent. I'm also drinking a Wisconsin beer, the chocolate peanut butter meltdown from Hinterland. This is their kind of chocolate peanut butter porter, and it's very, very good. It's hard to think of it as a beer because it's like a dessert.
No, that's
milkshake.
It's dark outside. Drink dark beer. I love it.
Yep, delicious. But Hinterland up in Green Bay, I think available pretty much all around Wisconsin.
Yeah.
All right. So that's the beverages. Let's get into the banter here after just a moment.
For more shows like this, check out the Goonhammer Media Network. more info at media.goonhammer.com.
And we are back, and it's time to talk what we've been playing. So it is a lengthy list, but I think we can zip through it. I'm going to start us off with, I think after we recorded last, we got together with John and Josh and Troy and myself, and we ventured out into Frosthaven, and we actually were able to get the prosperity level 3 that we needed to start building some buildings again.
Finally.
So after a long stretch of not being able to build anything, we are now upgrading and developing our town once again.
Yep.
I don't remember what the mission was. I don't remember anything other than
I think it's because
we.
Well, I think we were learning about our Frosthaven ADD was messing. Well, and one thing, like the problem is we don't have ADD with our characters except for you because we have not retired characters, which has hindered us. And then the ADD we've had with missions is we've never actually we weren't finishing like a whole theme. And I think we actually finished a branch, and then that was like gave us a whole bunch of stuff. So we're like, oh, maybe we should like run these more to the end. So I don't know. I mean, we're learning as we go along, but there was a little bit of an eye-opening experience. It felt like because we finished I can't remember exactly what it was, but we finished the thing there. So
yeah, we pushed the road through. We escorted the wagons to safety.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep.
Do the characters get more powerful after you retire and unlock something new, or is it pretty balanced?
You basically start over. So when a character retires, you take one of the new characters out of the box, so to speak, and you start at. You can level up to like half of the current prosperity. So if your town is like up to prosperity 6, right, you can start at like level 3. But like I started with the he's like a trapper. He's like a little kind of Valrath. He puts various helpful and harmful traps down. But I started at level 1. So like I'm kind of behind the curve of the others who are all like 6 or higher, I think. Josh might be like 8 or 9.
Something like that, yeah.
Troy and John are both, I think, 6 or 7.
Yep.
So, but yeah, so some Frosthaven got played. Hopefully more soon. I think we've got a pretty interesting prison break mission we're gonna try. So it should be a good time. Troy, what's been happening in dark corridors of large ancient ships of the Imperium?
Yeah, John and I have been trying out some Space Hulk, believe it or not, as we've been doing a little bit of play testing for all the brand new setup we have for Adepticon this year in a couple months, closing in super fast. So it's a little bit of a frantic to make sure we got everything. So we've played that while we watched our football team give the game away. But it was a good distraction because we were worried that we would that we'd be sad by the football game we were watching. So we did something else while we were doing it. So, but yeah, a lot of fun. We got some work to do there yet, but excited to get this to the table. I think I killed John, but it was good practice because I think I missed it. I made it a little harder than I needed to for John. So
nice. Who's been playing with chess clocks?
We have not pulled the clock out, but my daughter, I pulled out. I don't know. Did I share that with you guys or not? So I pulled out. I have this called, I think it's Chess Champion or something like this. It's a 40-year-old computer chess game, physical, and
Wow.
I got this I think when I was in high school or whatever, and you move the pieces and it's got like little touch pads and a light to where it moves, and then you can play the computer and it'll tell you where it moves its pieces. And so you've done that. And I pulled that out and I was just goofing around because they were doing like a chess club at school, but she's like, she had never really played chess. So I'm like, oh, we'll do this. And I was surprised it actually caught her attention for, more than 5 minutes. So we've been we've had it set up, and a lot of time we haven't. She played a little bit against the computer, but we've also just been playing against each other. And it was funny. She played John the other day, so she's like, it's kind of I'm like, all right, I'll play but I don't need the clock because she is not about the think deeply about chess. She is all about speed chess. Like, yeah, let's crank out a game in 15 or less minutes, otherwise I'm going to be bored, right? So, so she gets beat a lot, but there is every once in a while she does throw a move at you. You're like, whoa, I guess I wouldn't have done that, but it's gonna make me think a little bit. So, so it's fun. Yeah, and again, I'm not a great chess player at all, but it's been fun to just kind of get it back out and exercise those muscles for a little bit. So, and I'm just amazed that this 40-year-old computer game works too. And I beat it. I did beat it on the lowest level. Yeah, I did. It was kicking my ass for a while, and then I did beat it. It got like 9 levels, but on the first level I was able to beat it, but not a lot. I'm not a lot. I got a lot of work to do yet before I'm a grandmaster. So
awesome. Well, I've been playing a rotation of Monopoly Junior, Spotted the Disney edition, because my youngest got Spotted Disney for Christmas, and then Sushi Go. So that's the 3-game rotation, and it's been fun. Basically every night after dinner, she wants to play one of those 3. So, and usually we get 2 or 3 of them in. So.
Yep. Let's just get her off that Monopoly thing. You got a little work there, kind of wean her off of that. The other 2 are okay, I think. I think we're okay. Not that we're gatekeeper or anything, but like let's friends don't let friends play Monopoly. So
I let Troy say it. I withheld all. I've ridden Josh hard enough over the years about Monopoly that I wasn't gonna say anything, Troy. It's a new me, new year.
The bad part, I'm unapologetic. I once was at a family gathering, maybe where maybe a younger nephew was something about that, and I was a little bit maybe blunt with my Monopoly. I think there's things, and then I got told him to, because it's like, well, he just got that as a gift for whatever. I'm like, well, that's not my fault. Yeah, you guys bought him a bad game, right? Like what?
Well, I've been trying to crush her every time we play Monopoly Junior.
Oh, there you go.
So that she doesn't want to play it anymore. So maybe there's something there, right? So
if your kids aren't crying at the board game table, Josh, you're not trying hard enough.
Right.
So, question: Spotted Disney, does she beat you at that? Or are you observant? Are your levels of observation, your passive perception, high enough that you're doing all right still?
She's really good. 9 times out of 10, she beats me. This last game that I played with her, I crushed her. I don't know what it was. I was just in the zone, and I was catching them first. And she was getting like visibly mad because I was seeing them before she was, like almost every turn. So. Yeah, I felt good about myself.
Yep. I think we've talked about it before, but I'm always amazed by the math involved in the Spotted games and how it works. And I think I actually found, I found there is a YouTube video. I can't remember what the channel is, but one of the channels where he does a video about how the math works. And I'm a math minor, and I don't know that I even, after watching the video, I got how the math works, but it is super interesting. Again, it's one of those things I keep going on a rabbit hole, because you're like, how does this work? I don't get it. Like, it's so amazing that it works. Yeah.
We also have continued our D&D campaign. We played recently, got the gang back together mostly. It's kind of like, if I can get 4 or 5 of you, I'll play. But if ever we're missing half the party, I'll suspend. I think that's a good mix. But yeah, any thoughts there? Any story development? Any interesting things that you're headed down? I don't want to do my usual recap like I do when we play D&D, so that you guys drive the discussion.
I think last time we had already fought the dragon, right? Because that was a full month ago, probably.
I think
or
you were
we had just robbed from the dragon.
It was mid. I think we split over break. No, I mean, this is, I'm sure, wonderful radio, but I believe you guys, because I missed, I think, our last session before Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think and you guys have to fill me in. Then all of a sudden I came back. It's like, oh yeah, we're like fighting some big dragons and whatever. And so somebody can fill in. There was a story there about how we might have stole something and we gave it back, and then we didn't give it back, and then they got mad.
Yeah,
and
it
then
was
we were
the
fighting
first time in maybe 5 years of our D&D group where we did the diplomatic approach, and I tried to befriend a prismatic dragon, and I was doing a really good job. And then, of course, our agent of chaos, Paul, stole his treasure, and thus ensued a battle between us, some ranger dudes, and a couple demon lords. Maybe not demon lords, but scary demons. And I don't understand how, but we always survive. We're like that party that a lot of D&D fanatics would see and be like, "Wow, that's terrible. You guys are gonna get wiped every single night." And we persevere, man. It's impressive. No true healer, a druid that heals a lot, and a bunch of other guys that do a bunch of stupid stuff, but we always somehow make it.
Yep.
And a lot of wild magic.
And the wild, yeah. And I guess, right, to be clear, Paul is not an agent of chaos. Paul's character is an agent of chaos. Like, we don't want to, like,
Debatable.
Well.
Is both.
We'll let Paul can rebut that if he ever wants to. So that'll be.
Paul will tell you he's just returning the favor that I brought to our mage game for the last 7 or 8 years. Yeah. So D&D, yeah, and I think next time you guys head into a ruined ancient city infested with undead in search of a ruinous cult. So more on that later. We've been doing a ton of game playing in my house. So for Christmas, I got Nicole Final Girl, which is a game based on the scary movie concept of the last survivor, the final girl. It's kind of a trope in scary movies that she's always kind of fighting the villain or trying to escape from whoever the monster is. So Van Ryder Games made a solo game based on you being the final girl. You're trying to save other victims. You're trying to defeat the bad guy. All of the core box is like $25. All of the expansions that are like games that add a location and a monster are like $20-$25. It's a great price point, and they all come and you look and they actually look like a video cassette. And then the box unfolds. It's magnetic. It unfolds into the boards you need. So, and then they base them off of ones like the Poltergeist. One is, Freddy. There's all, classic. They just wrapped a Kickstarter for their next kind of 5, their series 3. So coming soon. But so Nicole had been playing that a lot. Sometimes like the first couple plays I sat with her and kind of we went through it and like co-op played it as a single player.
Yep.
But she's played it several times on her own and bought a bunch of the expansions. So kind of has taken off with it. Then I got Seventh Continent. So Will Conway, we've had him on the show long ago, but a good friend of ours was talking about it on Discord, and I was like, yeah, I wonder how that would play solo. So I bought it and have played it a couple times by myself, but then Nicole was like, this looks pretty cool. So it's kind of like you solve a puzzle every time you play. You're trying to get further and further to exploring this mysterious continent, flipping cards, navigating your path. Haven't beat it yet. Played, I think, the initial, like the starter game that they say you can play like up to like 20 hours. It's the first curse that you're trying to solve. And find out a little bit more, but you're just exploring, trying to figure out. And some of the location cards have like hidden messages or hidden numbers on them that lead to other cards and other things. So really cool game. I've since bought a couple of the expansions because I think I'll keep going with it. And then we also started playing My Island. So played My City with Josh and Troy. I think last year, the year before, we kind of went through all the episodes. Reiner Knizia. So it's hexes instead of squares. So it's less like Tetris and more like you're trying to place hexes. But the games we're just starting the 4th chapter. So we've played 9, I think 9 times. And it's great because you can play in like 30 minutes. So like we'll sit down in an hour and a half, just play all of like chapter 1, all of chapter 2, chapter 3. So as we're developing our island, and there's a jungle in the interior that has these monsters in it that we've just found. So you have to defeat the monsters and make the jungle safe. Like pirates come in one chapter. It's pretty cool. Like as you move around and try to, so similar, some of the concepts from My City are there, but it's way different as hexes. So playing through that, having a lot of fun, and we're chapter 4. So there's 8 chapters in the game.
Oh, cool. Yep,
Yeah.
I think I have a copy somewhere. I don't know where it is. I have a copy of My Island somewhere. I'll have to figure out when I break that out.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun, and it's quick. We can at night we've brought it out and played 2 or 3 as Landon watches something or does something, and then it doesn't take 3 hours to finish the game.
Right.
All right, so that's Playin. I don't think I missed anything off the list for anyone. Let's move to the hobby table. I think we've actually impressively all been doing some level of hobby and painting and other stuff. So Josh, let's start with what's been consuming your life.
Predominantly 3D printing.
Yeah, with what material?
Both. A little bit of resin, a little bit of FDM. So, mostly resin. I'm trying to fine tune some of it. Like I'm still figuring things out. I was talking to Bryce earlier. Yeah, there's a few things that I'm still sorting out and honing the craft, so to speak. But yeah, I think I've been printing stuff for other people more than I have for myself lately. So I need to like print some stuff that I'm gonna paint and play with. So, but yeah,
If you take time to paint it, you lose time to keep printing. So it's really a sacrifice
that's true.
if you print for yourself.
Yeah, I should keep printing for the people. You're right. You're right. You won your role against me there, sir. Good job. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Mostly 3D printing. Just because I can kick it off and go do other stuff, and yeah. But it's been fun going through. So I've been backing a whole bunch of things on Patreon and other sources, right? For a year and a half of. So I have a year and a half of backlog of things to dig through for my resin printer, right? So yeah. Finally getting to things like, oh yeah, that's right, I forgot, I want to print this, and oh yeah, there's that. And so yeah, it's been fun. So
Nice. Troy, let's dive into your kind of pre-Adepticon push and what you've all been doing.
Yep, I'm in crazy, a little bit of everything. So we'll talk a little bit about Midwinter, but we ran some events there. But I had to do some prep for the Zombicide games that we're going to run at the welcome dinner for Adepticon. And one of those, I think I've been talking about the Hagglethorn Hollow terrain. That was the Kickstarter by the is it Wega? What's the studio down there, Johnny, down there, that they made that resin. I have those buildings, but they also did a base for them that I 3D printed and had to paint those up. And then I actually went in and I painted up a little bit of the actual Hagglethorn Hollow. It's already pre-painted, but we went and I did a little bit of touch up on that because basically we wanted to make it Zombicide terrain. So just some little visual cues so you could tell like what were different areas that you went into. So did some of that. And then also 3D printed a whole nother board, which is sitting next to me. You guys can't see, but whole nother Zombicide Invader board, buildings and that kind of space lab thing that we're going to run there. And that's about, I think that's, and then continue to 3D print a ton of, that's that table over there, which is right now it's only 8x6 table full of Space Hulk stuff, but it'll soon become a 12x6 table when I go to full layout mode in another couple days here.
You started painting yet, or are you still on printing phase?
I need to print. I got I've been printing the Space Hulk stuff kind of as I go, because it's a huge thing. I do need to paint the Zombicide terrain, so that'll just be, I need to do one day here and just not. That's pretty easy though. It's just I just put some color on it and dry brush. It's not big. And the same thing. It's all rattle can for the Space Hulk stuff, and I'll go back and maybe we'll touch up a few things, but that's about it. So yeah, I've been trying to stay, because otherwise, painting is I'm running out of time to paint. So we've been doing it a little bit along the way. So
I want to have a hobby challenge contest where we each paint a hallway for Space Hulk. Maybe it's like the entry hallway for 4, and we all do it in our own way and slightly different, and then that can be
color challenge.
A 3-color challenge part 2. Yeah. One metallic, one contrast paint, and one regular paint. All right. Bryce, I see you hobbying right now, I believe. What are you working on?
I just wanted to paint something, so I grabbed a flamer, exalted flamer, maybe. And I'm painting it with just purple, pink, and blue to see what I can do. So,
whoa, that's like a rhyme.
So
unintentional, but it's actually good. I like it.
Hobby conspiracy theory time. Bryce is actually working on a Zinch army for Adepticon.
Oh wow! For what game?
Old World.
World of Warcraft.
9th Age.
Nice.
Kings of War.
No, I've just always had this fascination with Zinch models, actually, and the colors that you can paint them. I mean, you can paint anything any color, but the fun, bright colors and freedom to do anything you want. So it was just a glazing kind of night, and we're gonna see what happens. But I also I'm committed. I want to do 2 entries, but I'm committed to guaranteeing at least 1 entry for the Worthy competition.
Oh, okay.
My resin printing 3D buddy is just finished up part of what I will be using for the base. I mean, there's no reason to keep it secret. I'm going to try to do Doctor Strange and Baron duel where they're fighting in the mirror dimension. So there will be different angles of buildings on the plinth, and then the backdrop will be painted like the mirror dimension. And see if I can pull that off. But that's one, and then I'd like to do my Guardians, but time might not let that one happen. But I want to do at least one. I really, really want to do 1 real entry this year. So
cool.
Nice.
That was cool, Josh. Bryce didn't actually see it, but
heck yeah.
And Bryce, you also have been doing a bit of home hobby project.
God. so much home hobby project. It all paid off until today, but sold my house. So all the 5 years of hard work and dedication to renovating this place came to fruition as I accepted an offer and made some money. But there was a major panic at the end of, holy smokes, I got a lot to do before this thing goes on the market. So there was, I think it was 12 straight days of less than 3 hours of sleep. And
we always talk
straight
about
zombie by the end.
We always talk about deadline painting and how that really motivates you to finish a project. So nothing sets the clock like, buying a house and having to list your own house and sell in a short window.
Even my wife was like, wow, you always said you could get this stuff done, but now I actually believe it. So that was rewarding.
Excellent. Well, I have not done any home hobby projects, but I've actually been painting a lot over the last couple weeks. And what kicked it off is you can kind of see over my shoulder behind this computer monitor. I have some paint racks that I got. So I've always had these little Hobby Zone racks that kind of form. I don't know if you can see over this shoulder down here, like on my hobby desk. But off to the side, I've got this little shelf thing, and I'm like, I'm going to use that shelf space. So I created stadium seating with these Hobby Zone paint racks, and they're the longest ones. They each hold about 80 to 100 bottles, depending on if they're the thicker, like Citadel Games Workshop, pot, or like the thinner scale, scale 75, or like Army Painter. So I built those. I got them. I found a U.S. store in like New Hampshire, Hobby World in New Hampshire, that sold the Hobby Zone products. So ordered them from them. They shipped and arrived, and they just kind of, unlike the smaller ones, you don't need to glue them at all. They're just kind of slot together, the bigger rack. So that was nice. And then I decided it was time to start painting Oathsworn. So Troy had 3D printed all the terrain. So a couple of houses, several trees, and the wall section. So I've started by painting all the terrain. I have one house left, but I've done all the walls, the trees, another house. And then I started on Mystery Box 4, which is a number of models, and I've been painting those, and they're like 90% done. So
what? Spoiler.
Yep, multiple models. Mystery Box 4. Mystery Box 3 was multiple models, and
that's
one
true,
monster.
but it really wasn't one. Yeah. Right. Spoilers. Sorry.
But I've also opened Mystery Box 5 and started thinking about how I'm going to paint that. So eventually I'm going to log all 22 mystery boxes on the pile of paint, or whatever it's called.
Pile of potential.
And right now I just have mystery boxes 3 and 4 and the terrain up, which are 36.84% complete, with models complete, because trees aren't technically complete and one house isn't complete.
Cool.
But
and
lot
how are
of
you?
terrain
Do you want to say what pile of potential is so that Stu can set up on it?
Yeah. So pileofpotential.com, former Games Workshop presenter, Sherry Robson, I think, CERI, started, what is her Twitch? I think it's the Hobby Room, maybe. We'll fact check that, but and had a spreadsheet that she logged her kind of in progress paint stuff, and would track like models, and then were they built, were they primed, were they painted, were they based. And it kind of is an ability to enter your project and track, if it's like a Warhammer game, the points of each model, and then you can get some stats as to the total number of models, what you've completed, and kind of log what they are. You enter the unit, and you can configure what columns you track and what goes into it. But you can also add notes. So if you really wanted to use it to track like paint recipes, or anything in there as well, you can. And you can sign in with either, if you have YouTube account or Twitch, you can sign in and utilize the website. But pileofpotential.com, and I just started it today, logging my Oathsworn project after Will, second mention in the same episode, had shared in Discord and said, hey, this is a pretty neat tool. So I fired it up, and I'm like, yeah, this is pretty neat. It's just, you got to do the record keeping and log what you want to put in there.
And yes, the Hobby Room is the Twitch.
Very cool.
But yeah, so that is hobby, and I think from there we move on to crowdfunding, which is another hobby in of itself. And I've been picking up Troy's torch in 2024 and kickstarting some stuff. So I tend to always look and see what's coming this year, what'll be fun to play. And I found an old Kickstarter from like 2022 that I had never really paid attention to. That was in its last bit of like late pledge on GameFound, and it is Forsaken. So it's game trays. They do a lot of inserts for other games, but they are publishing a sandbox style. Reminds me a little bit of like Star Wars bounty hunter-esque feel to it, but you explore worlds and have unique characters and kind of play the game. And it's not campaign, so it's like self-contained, but it looks to be almost how like Plaid Hat does Crossroads, where you draw cards and there's narrative on it. It kind of has that, but there's some cool miniatures, expansions. So I think I did all in for like $250 and just backed it because why not? I have a problem. And it's supposed to complete here in the next month or two and then ship this year. So should have that some point summer, fall to occupy shelf space, which is always limited. And I put the link out there if you guys haven't seen it, but Forsaken, and maybe we can sneak that into the show notes. I think late pledge is still available. Not 100% sure on that, but it should also be at retail this year too. So what I did not pledge was Bloodthrone. So I had mentioned, I think last time we recorded, that it was coming January 18th. The models from Creature Caster looked pretty cool, but they had showed nothing of gameplay. I don't like disparaging Frontline too much. I think I've had issues with some of their business choices in the past, but this game, like watching a playthrough that was a paid ad for the game, really just kind of bothered me. And like Reese was showing it with these two guys that do like board games or miniature gaming reviews. I'd never seen them before, but it was clearly like a commercial. Like they were trying to show it off, and it didn't do it for me. I go watch the video if you really want to, but that was enough to get me not to back it, because the miniatures look cool, but there's like this cardboard terrain that I think Frontline has tried to make like their, flagship, like, oh, it's so easy, it's this pop-up style cardboard stuff that you can get a battlefield in a few minutes, and it just didn't do it for me at all. And the gameplay felt, I don't know, like it didn't have a lot of polish, or the components just didn't look like, it looked like they had focused on the miniatures with Creature Caster, and then I feel like an ass. I really think they should have brought in like some actual game designers, and I feel like they didn't. I feel like it was kind of like Reese wanted to design a game and they got some other guys to do it. Maybe it's a great game, maybe it's super fun, but I couldn't justify backing it. I don't know if you guys watched any of the videos.
I felt the exact same way. Yeah, I was when you talked about it last time, I was all in on it, and the concept seemed cool, but then watching the video and seeing what actually came with it, I was all the way out for everything you just said. Mostly, I was disappointed that they didn't just have terrain as an option, or like,
Yeah,
but like all there really was 5 or 6 really cool models, and then some all right models, and then nothing that really made me excited to want to back it.
So like if they would have done some really nice terrain versus like the card, like if they would have given the option, like you could do at a base level, here you get this pop-up terrain, or you can pay a little extra for like nice like 3D printed terrain or whatever, right? Would that have made
even
a
like a
difference?
3D file?
Sure, where you could print your
Yep.
own.
It would have helped, definitely. For me though, it really, like, when you look at the components, and this is probably me nitpicking, but like when you look at the components and you have things like what Warhammer Quest has done with Cursed City and Silver Tower, and how expansive and immersive Frosthaven is, and how incredible the miniatures and the gameplay is on Oathsworn. Like, there's so many of these kind of tactical miniature RPG games out now The components on this one just felt really like bland, like a tracker where you move things across. You put little discs in without much art or graphics. These like cheap looking measuring sticks, like like you look at Crisis Protocol, right, and how they use measuring sticks. And there's the bend, there's the design, the art. This is just like a little 9-inch and 3-inch like rectangular piece of plastic. Like, man, I'm nitpicking, but like looking at the components now, the miniatures are pretty good, and the rest just doesn't seem to like hold up. And granted, maybe it's still prototype stuff. Maybe there's more. I don't know. Um, but I'm also used to seeing Kickstarters like this be massively successful, and I would have thought this one with Creature Caster connected might have had a bigger like penetration. They still got 22 days to go. They funded. It was a small. Their goal is like $50,000. It'll be interesting to watch how quickly they can bring it to production, what they can do. But they're still at like 72K. After being open for a week, and I couldn't start a Kickstarter and make 72 grand on it. But like, it doesn't seem to have the force that a lot of other ones we've seen have. That's enough negativity from me. We're going to bring it back to the positive. Anyone get anything on their doorstep from Kickstarter funded? Anything cool, or should we just go to other cool geekery items?
Well, Ty, you could talk about, not just, I know you made an procurement, the same one I did was and you used it kind of, is the book of many things, or the deck of many things. Because I have mine sitting right here. That's what made me think about that.
Yeah. So if we go past, let's go to other, and we can talk a few, because there's a few things. So the new box set finally came out. They had some print production issues. I think it was originally supposed to release November,
December. Yep.
And they didn't. But I found a copy of the deck of many things with the alternate art on Noble Knight. So I had made an order there and got that. There's a really cool like deck that's a part of the actual deck is a part of it. There's a little book like how you can use it. And then there's a source book with like a chapter dedicated to each of the cards of the deck of many things, and puzzles you can use, or quests you can use, or different magic items and monsters. So like they themed a source book all around the deck of many things, which is an artifact that I bring into almost every game I run, just because I love the pure chaos that it introduces into an adventure. So really cool. The art's fantastic. The book is a lot of fun to pick through. So it was no surprise when 3 cards from the deck of many things showed up in our last adventure, for a little game of 3-card Monty. Paul wasn't there. He's going to be so disappointed when he hears. I bought, and I have this right here, and this one I'm actually very excited about. So 5 Leagues from the Borderlands is a solo and co-op miniature game that you build a warband, and it's model agnostic. So like I could use Oathsworn minis, or I could use Age of Sigmar stuff. You build your warband, you then build a map. So you draw or use a mapping utility to create a map of your like realm, and you add locations, and there's all these rollable tables that you can check, and then you do like a pre-adventure event, then you play your battle, and you might be on a 2x2 battlefield or 3x3. The enemy has like programmed AI, right? So if they're ranged model, they will always shoot closest target, not in cover, then follow this. So there's like a flow chart for enemy behavior. But picked it up and definitely thinking of ways to do it, starting to design a warband. And I think over time I'm likely to start using some of the Oathsworn stuff I'm painting and some of the other things I have to just play, because it reminds me a bit of Mordheim's like campaign progression and how you level up and events that happen. And it just seems really well done. It's the 3rd edition. So their other one that it's based on is 5 Parsecs from the Galaxy, I think, which is like a space themed one. that they did first. But that's 5 Leagues from the Borderlands, and the book's really well written. I like it a lot. I think it would be something I do more than like. There's the Ranger. What is the Osprey
Rangers of
one?
Eldenvale, right?
Rangers of Shadow Deep or
yep,
something,
yep.
or Shadow
Yeah.
Delve.
I just
It's
had
behind
I
me
just put it
somewhere.
in the box.
But that's similar concept, right? It's solo kind of miniature RPG, and I like the book there too. And I've kind of compared the two, and I think 5 Leagues is the one I'm going to actually give a go and maybe track the exploits of the warband.
And Ty, did you say what company makes it?
Modiphius.
Modiphius. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. Cool.
I feel like I've been talking a lot. What else
really
should
quick.
we?
I'm terrible review because I haven't really cracked the book. Is the new Imperium Maledictum from our friends at Cubicle 7, the new 40K role playing game. It's kind of, I don't know, the next generation of Dark Imperium.
Dark Heresy.
Dark Heresy. Sorry,
Yep.
Dark Heresy. Yeah. Is my understanding. I actually have looked at the book when it was at Gen Con, but that was 6 months ago. So it just kind of came. I think it came out around the new year for in hardcover. You could get the PDF before it. So at some point, excited to kind of crack that open, see if and maybe run something there. But
I hear
will
that on the
read
short
it and
list.
do better ones. So yeah,
I hear that's on the short list for a podcast that a couple of guys I know are talking about doing about role playing games.
Yeah. And they will, maybe as soon as Adepticon gets out of their way or before, but we'll see.
Then Josh, for I believe the next item, last year you did this for us all and you did it again. Do you want to describe?
Yeah, I am forcing this upon you guys again to see if anthropomorphic animals will draw you in. The Leaf Riders of Renwood are looking to you three to adventure through the year with your own little mini dice, and I think
Homemade?
this it came with a you too. Well, when you stop down, Bryce, I have something for you. Close your ears, you won't know. But yeah, I think I paid the $5 extra or whatever for the booklet that actually has the dice and the little booklet, and I mean it was cool. I have a bone to pick with them because I got it on like January 4th or something, which I mean if it's a calendar, I feel like I should have it on before the 1st.
Like December 4th would have been a better date, probably.
So you're
Yes.
just automatically setting us up to fail.
Yeah.
Right. So and it got delivered to my neighbor too. So that was the other thing. That wasn't their fault, right? But so my neighbor like reached out to me a couple days later and was like, "Hey, I think I have something that might be yours because it's nerdy and it's calendars." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's fine." So my neighbor knows me. So yeah, we'll see if this grabs you guys more than the sci-fi one, but I think when it came out, I think it was a Kickstarter or something, one of the backing pledge deals. We were talking about some anthropomorphic animal type game, and I had stumbled across it like the next day, and I was like, this feels like it's like meant to be. So I felt like I had to pull the trigger on that. So yeah. So we'll see if this one entices you guys more than the other one. It won't, but I'm cool with that.
It may.
I like
You
that.
never know.
The little tiny dice are really cool too. So at the very least, the little tiny dice are fun. So there we go.
Nice. One other thing I'll add to the list of kind of other items that we've purchased or acquired. I downloaded an app called Board Game Stats. It costs like $5, but I've been logging all of my plays since I got it. And what's pretty cool is I can look and it has my play statistics the last 30 days. So I've played 14 times with 5 different named players across 4 unique games in 2 locations, 4 of which were new games that I hadn't played previously. So I played my island 9 times, Seventh Continent 3 times, Final Girl once, Frosthaven once. So you log where you play, who you play with, and it has other stats. So I enter the score of all my games of my island, and it shows who the winner was and what your record is, and so it tracks all these things if you put them in, and then you can sync it with Board Game Geek or other stuff if you want. But I just have it in my app, and I log when I play, and it lets me see how often I'm playing, what I'm playing, who I'm playing with, scores. And then you can also enter your board game library. So I've been adding the games that I own and what edition and stuff, and then you have a list of your library. So far I've added 28 of my games, 5 of which are expansions, and there's just a lot you can do with tracking. And it reminds me of for a while how Josh was religiously updating Untapped, any beer he would have and where he had it. It's like that for board games.
I'm kind of you violated my privacy though, Ty. I didn't sign any waiver that said you could put me in there that said you played a game with me. What if that leaks? What if there's a hack or something?
I played a game with a guy named Troy, and no last name, no email, no identifying information.
It probably says that it's probably got Josh's address in there.
No,
with my name and a date and time.
Yep. Just BoD Brewhouse, no geolocation, no none of that.
All
just
right.
logged as BoD Brewhouse.
I don't feel violated anymore then. All right.
I've been selling your information for years, though, Troy. Every time you log into Roll20, I record where you are. It was something I was looking at. I'm like, it'd be cool to kind of track how much, what I get played, and kind of you can set goals and see insights into what you're playing and the type of game and who you're playing with, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of options in it.
I'm going to take us on a tangent. What are your did you guys see I don't know if it was a Kickstarter or whatever, the little dry erase tags that you actually put on your board game, and you actually write the number of plays or something. I saw this, I don't know where, on Instagram or Facebook or something, and I'm like, I don't know. It was just funny. I'm like, somebody's doing it, right? But I'm just the app seems to make a lot more sense than it was these little things you'd put on every one of your games, and you could write the little number of plays on it. So I don't know, either make you feel guilty or motivate you. I don't know what would be
I also saw what's her name, Danielle Standring or whatever. She's on TikTok, and her and her husband they gathered all of the games that they haven't yet played, what's shrink wrapped or what hasn't come off the shelf in their house, and they're doing a video series on playing through their unplayed stuff.
I thought you were going to tell me they put them in the yard and burned them.
But it got me thinking, I do this periodically. I go through the collection, right? And if I haven't touched something in a while, I take it to Noble Night. And now I've got it pretty well curated, the stuff I've played or need to play. But I have to go through and say, okay, I haven't played this yet, and try to get those off the shelf and get them played. So that was a lot. Let's get into the library. Throw open the doors. Listening, reading, watching. I'm going to start with Bryce. Bryce, have you been doing a significant amount of Audible? Any new lit RPG series?
Oh, yeah. I finished... Well, the new book just came out, so I can't say finished. I listened to 7 lit RPGs since the last time we recorded. Of the book, it is slipping my mind, Josh. What is it? It's on both of our recommended lists. I listened to it too fast. Primal Hunter. Pretty fun book. I would say it falls somewhere in between He Who Fights with Monsters and maybe a little bit below Carl, but it's one where it's everything good happens. Well, it's a pretty funny story journey, but nothing goes wrong for him in a major way, so it's kind of lame in that way. But the story's a lot of fun. He's best friends with a god, and everyone is overwhelmed by the presence of gods in the story, and he's just drinking whiskey with the god in the city center and all kinds of fun stuff like that. So it's a fun book, fun series. 8th one just came out, so I'm sure I'll finish that by Friday, and then we'll see what's next.
I've not been reading that much, but I did start Babel. Yeah, I'm a good way into it. I don't know. So far, I really like it. No spoilers, but yeah, it's everybody just raves about it. So I was like, well, I have to dive in. So, and Rebecca Kwong, like, I don't know, everything she writes is awesome. So, yeah, so far it holds true. And watched a series called You Are What You Eat with my wife. Usually we don't see eye to eye on any TV, like hardly at all. I usually have to watch something she likes for us to watch any TV together. But yeah, it was definitely had a vegetarian vegan slant, which I think was the point of it, right? But it opened my eyes to Troy and to some degree Bryce's world of eating and you know why you shouldn't, you should eat more plant-based stuff. So yeah, it was good. I liked it. And they took twins, I like 20 sets of identical twins or 50 sets of identical twins. I don't know. They only followed 4 of them, but there was more in the study, and they had one eat kind of a more standard meat-based diet and one eat completely plant-based diet, and did a bunch of tests
One's
and
died.
things. What's that?
The one's died. The other one survived.
Yeah,
That-
one died and the other one
yeah.
survived. No, it was only like I don't know, 6 months or something like that, or 4 months or something like that. It wasn't super long. But yeah, they did exercise trials and blood work and the whole 9 at the beginning, and then they redid everything at the end. And as you, I don't want to spoil it, but one side was a little bit better than the others, and yeah. But it wasn't like overwhelming. I mean, there was definitely some positives to both diets, but from a just like overall environmental standpoint, that was another thing they talked a lot about, and that was a bit more like I knew about a lot of it, but it was a little bit more eye-opening than I really realized. So yeah, interesting watch. I would recommend it if you're interested in that stuff at all. So it's on Netflix.
Troy, you want to go or should I jump in?
I can run through here. So I think since I've been talking about it because it took me like 3 months to read it, but I did get through The End and the Death, Dan Abnett, the penultimate book in the Siege of Terra saga. I think I've talked about the length and whatever, but as I got in the second half of that book, I actually kind of changed my tune a little bit and just am enjoying the all the words and all the story as we come to the end. A lot of interesting stuff happens. Abnett throws a couple curveballs in here, which is, because it's like everybody knows the story, but you don't. With the emperor and all that. Again, it is, super wide spanning. In some ways, it's a space opera, right? But the amount of different plot lines that are going on is crazy. But the second half of that book really came around, and I am, excited and a little bit. It's going to feel really weird to get to the last book, which comes out in just a couple weeks, and to get to the very end and see how he kind of like he wraps it all up and everything. So again, big events happen in book 2, and no spoilers there. But we will at some point. I will probably do a real review out there on that one. So enjoying that, fighting to try and get collector's edition of Volume 3. We'll see, or maybe not. But so the Siege of Terra comes to an end in the next whatever. I'll talk about that one, I'm sure, in the next couple months.
Can I interject something real
Sure.
quick? So I saw a news flash that Riot Games laid off a bunch of people, sadly. I believe Graham McNeil was included in that. Like they kind of cut across the creative group, which is great though, because that means that Graham can come and write for the Henry Cavill 40K project with Amazon, and we can then have Abnett collaborate with Graham on a screenplay for Eisenhorn, because how great would that be?
Yep. So did somebody at Henry Cavill to tell him that Graham needs a job?
I don't know, but I'll get on that. I'll reach out to
he'll hear
Henry
in a couple of days when this episode comes out.
Yeah.
Obviously. You can have your agent contact our agent for
Henry, if you want to guest on episode 78 or 79, and we can talk about The Witcher, Superman, like 40K armies, the Custodies are cool. Like, that would be great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Troy.
No, that's good. That's good. I think that's coming up we'll talk about that more in our main topic, maybe about our wishes for this year. So a little bit of completely a palate cleanser, and I picked this up. There was a recommendation, and I think Ty talked to you about it. Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara is unbelievable. I want to say it's just this interesting book. It's about a guy that ran one of the very top restaurants, and I should know what it is, 11 something in New York. But it's not, and it's all set around a kind of a restaurant and that, but it really just has a lot of just lessons and things about how do you provide service to a customer? How do you have again, the idea of unreasonable hospitality, like how do you go above and beyond to offer service to a customer, again, this was in the context of, a 4-star restaurant, right? But all the themes in there are things that you can apply to everything. And even as I'm doing, as I was reading, I was thinking about, even as we're running events, like what are some of the topics, things you could take from him to do, he talks about things like I think it's 95-5 rule or something, right? Where, you can do, 95% of things can be, I'll call them good, right? And then there's maybe a 5%, there's one extra thing that you go over the top on, you spend that extra. And a lot of times he talks about the money, right? You spend kind of the normal budget on 95% of what you're doing. Then with that 5%, that's where you splurge. That's where you go the extra thing. And then that's what the people remember, right? That they're going to remember that. And it's not like you spent a ton, right? You just took this a little bit extra and you found that one thing that you would put your effort or money into that puts that thing over the top, makes it a, extraordinary experience. So a short read. I'm a kind of I was a Kitchen Confidential, something I find the, running a restaurant just always is kind of a mystery to me. I'm like, it's one of those magic things, like amazing how that all comes together. So it was interesting in that context, but there's just some really, the concepts that he goes through and goes through is really interesting. So again, it was super entertaining. And then you learn something along the way to, anybody who works with teams, anybody who works, whatever, you're going to take something away. But again, I found a lot of good takeaways I can apply in all different areas of my life that came out of that book. So
11 Madison Park.
11 Madison Park. Thank you. Yeah.
Which was also featured in You Are What You Eat.
Oh, really?
So nice little tie in there. Good job.
I need to go see I want to see, like, he describes it, but I never went and looked at I need to go look at a picture of what that restaurant, because it just, the description that he gives are just over the top. Of what that room is, but
it's apparently completely vegan now too. So
is it really? No, it's yeah. Cool. Well, now it's a destination or something. I'll have to figure that out too. Cool.
So I'll bring Henry Cavill into this one too. So when you're doing Space Hulk at Adepticon, I think you should have Henry Cavill in Terminator armor just walk by the table. Like, it can't be that expensive, right? Cosplay, movie set,
Yeah.
Space Hulk armor, an appearance from
Yeah.
Henry Cavill. Like, that's that 5%, Troy, that would just set
Right.
you
I feel like
over.
you
You have the
I
Hollywood
feel like you
connection.
didn't. I feel like you didn't hear me. Like, it's not 95.5. It's it's you spend 95% of your budget on the one thing, yeah, and then 5% what you actually. No, that's not what it's. But good idea. Yeah, we'll figure that out.
Yeah, cool.
And then the other pretty interesting read that was this had been in my backlog for a while, and then somebody had mentioned, I think I was watching something and somebody had mentioned the book and I dove in. Slaying the Dragon by Ben Riggs, which is really kind of the investigative reporting aspect of the TSR story. It's really kind of the rise and fall of TSR, from more of like a reporter's lens. Ben Riggs did a lot of, I think it started out as some articles he had done for Geek and Sundry, and it really kind of took off. And he continued to do research, a lot of interviews with a lot of the old timers that were at TSR and people that are still there in the industry and so forth. He does not, and unlike, I think, what's I wish I could remember the other book of the Dice one. I'll figure it out. But some of the other ones, I mean, he kind of paints a very, like, I would say real, he doesn't like hold Gary Gygax up on a pedestal. He kind of like calls him out for what some of the missed things that he had kind of done. And, there was a lot of bad management that went on in that company, and that, and got them into trouble there. He talks a lot about the Lorraine Williams era, in that he did not, that was like, and even he tried to, she did not, of course, she was one of the few people who didn't want to talk to him about that. So, but he also said, well, I don't, because I don't have anything from her, I also don't want to just like crucify her. Right. So he really did try and paint a pretty, realistic picture, balance with that. Or when he did say things, it was because he had evidence from other people. But I mean, it was just, I had lived through that whole era. I can remember, I was in Lake Geneva in the 80s. I was around there. I can remember in the 90s when everybody was worried about TSR going under, when Gen Con, there was like, was there going to be another Gen Con? You guys probably remember that. I don't know if you're right. And kind of the mid 90s, around that. So really, again, if you're interested in that kind of aspect, it is, it kind of the, how do you run a game business? It's a little different now with the internet, but in some ways it's not, right? And how do you do that? And there are some wild stories in there around the heyday of TSR. And, I'd kind of forgotten about TSR West when Gary went to Hollywood, because he got kicked out of Lake Geneva basically in the company, and was trying to, do a movie and a book deal, and they were burning cash like there was no tomorrow and things like that. So interesting. I mean, it is, I mean, it's not, I don't want to, it was real interesting and I enjoyed it. Ben Riggs, I think it feels like a newspaper article, maybe not a book, and some like his writing style just, and sometimes he felt like a little over the top, or a little like, a little back, and on some of that. Again, not anything out of the ordinary, but there were just some, I think some writing choices that were a little interesting in how he did that, but which was, probably why it only has like 3 or 4 stars if you look at it on there. But I think the content was really good, and it was stuff that I wasn't really aware of, on that, because he did do a lot of research with in interviews. So again, recommend that one if you're interested in that. I'm kind of in this old company nostalgia thing too, because I have Dice Men, which is the Games Workshop story. That book is sitting up in my office. I want to read through that. I just started that one. I think we just lost Brian Ansell, I think around Christmas time.
Yeah,
was one of the founders in the Game Workshop. But it's, again, interesting, kind of the other side of the ocean around when you see the TSR story, and then how Games Workshop and everything on their side. So I'm excited to read that book too. And then I have another book sitting here next to me, Talking Miniatures, which was, again, a couple of old Games Workshop guys that pulled together those. And I saw that on the Painting Phase podcast when they had the authors on there. And so I kind of immediately went on Amazon and bought that. So I'm interested to go on that. So talk about those in the future. So it's pretty good. And then just because Rebecca Kwong is our on everything, we did have, it was funny, Raph and Ty and I had a little bit of discussion because I think Raph had just read Yellowface and I am about halfway through. And I know Ty, you had talked about that before because you can't get enough of that. But yeah, halfway through that. Interesting. Like I kind of said, I'm interested in the book, but I'm not, it's just, I'm not entertained and I don't want too many spoilers that, but like, it's hard to like the protagonist, but you're kind of like, I don't know. I feel like I'm watching a car accident, and so you can't really turn away. But I go for a while, and I just don't feel good about how it doesn't make me feel good to read the book, right? So I have to like I'm going in spurts, but just like that, I can't put it down. Like, oh, I gotta find out what happens. Like, and it's a pretty short book. I think I don't know how many pages. It's about 8 hours long and on Audible, so it's pretty easy to get through. So work my through it. So yeah, it's interesting around what my feelings around it. I think again, really good book. Again, a lot of it feels a little bit. I think Raph mentioned it too. It felt like there's a lot of autobiographical things in there where she's using it as a way to. There's a lot about the publishing industry. I think Ty, you talked about it. It's a little bit about a manuscript and somebody who maybe didn't write a book that they said they did and things like that. And so, but I think she's making taking the opportunity to make a lot of commentary. It feels like around a lot of things in the publishing industry and being an author and social media and there's a lot of stuff going on in there, which is interesting. And if you know, it's interesting if you know her background, then you're like, oh yeah, then it definitely you're like, because I mean, I think Raph mentioned it too. Like she, her background mirrors almost exactly one of the characters in the book too. So it's pretty interesting. So I don't know, maybe at some point, maybe there's a book club on Yellowface because enough of us have read it. So
nice. Well, I started the year with a couple books that I had on my want to read last year and didn't get to. So The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell. So Cornwell writes tons of historical fiction. This is his take on the King Arthur mythos and story. Very different than your traditional kind of Arthurian story. But the first book in that, I think it's a trilogy that he wrote. Pretty good. I enjoyed it. I'll probably listen to the next one. Jonathan Keeble did the narration on Audible, so he does a lot of Black Library stuff.
Yep.
Really great. And it's kind of this old monk retelling a story, and he was one of Arthur's sworn men when he was younger, and now he's a monk telling his tale to Queen Igraine. And cool story. I learned after the fact that I think MGM Plus did a Winter King series last year that is basically Cornwell's novel, but as a show. So it was on MGM Plus or something. I haven't watched it yet. No idea if it's any good.
How do you find the channel? It's one of those,
Even though MGM Plus was a thing.
Right.
Yeah, I don't stream. It was for their streaming platform, and
they should be paying us for you just hyping it because now one person's gonna go subscribe to it. So
Henry Cavill.
Yeah, Henry, my boy Henry is gonna get the affiliate link that I set up. That and Kick-Ass Mail Order. So I listened to that. I read The Last Policeman. So I don't know if I'd mentioned this once before, but Ben Winter is the writer, and it's actually a trilogy. So for Christmas, I got all 3 books, and I read the first one. He's a young, in his mid-20s police detective. He's been on the job for a few months, but as you learn as the reader, there's an asteroid approaching the Earth, and it's been confirmed that it's a world ender, it's going to obliterate mankind. So he finds a body in a McDonald's bathroom, and it looks to be a suicide by hanging. But then he gets this thought that it's a murder, and there are things that he just can't figure out. So he pursues it, solving the crime, when everybody else is it's a hanger, let it go. Everybody's kind of given up in in a way, but he won't give up the case, and he pursues it and does the detective work to like get to find what happened. So it's like this classic detective story set in this backdrop of this apocalyptic like sci-fi asteroid coming, and it's set in like I want to say it's like New Hampshire or Massachusetts. It's East Coast America. But enjoyed it. It was pretty good. So I'll read the next two. What else? I started listening, Bryce, on kind of your recommendation to He Who Fights with Monsters. I'm withholding commentary until I finish. It has not been an easy start though. It's taken me quite a while, and I don't know if it's the Australian narrator. I don't know. I'll wait. I'm waiting for it to really kick in the gear.
I think I told you it took me like 5 or 6 times trying to start that book, and I couldn't get it. And then once I got it, I listened to 10.
Yeah,
10 days.
Maybe I'll catch fire. I'm about 9-10 hours in out of the 24-ish hours or whatever the book is.
Yeah.
So close to halfway, and I'm just kind of like, all right, let's get going. I did. So I don't know when it was released, but the 20th anniversary edition of Heir to the Empire. So Timothy Zahn, kind of the trilogy that immediately follows the classic Luke, Leia, Han Solo, Star Wars trilogy, and rumored to be the next film IP, perhaps. But I downloaded that 20th anniversary edition on Audible. I had like a couple credits that I went and bought, and I just started, and I'm like, oh, it holds up, because I remember reading it when it came out. Like, I remember enjoying Timothy Zahn's trilogy and the introduction of Thrawn, and I listened to the first like 30 minutes today, and I'm back. Like, it was just like right back into where I was. So very excited and I'll probably burn through that one before I even finish He Who Fights with Monsters. All right. Well, we are going to catch our breath, take a break, and come right back to talk about Midwinter Gaming Convention, and then a little bit about some of the things we're looking forward to here in 2024. All right, here we go. Midwinter Gaming Convention. So just to set the scene, Wisconsin in winter is a terrible place, inhospitable to all forms of life, and pretty much any activity other than sitting inside and reading or playing games or painting and doing your own thing. But we do have a really cool local gaming convention. For years, it was in downtown Milwaukee at the Hilton. This year, it moved out of the city to the western suburbs, very close to where Josh and Troy reside, out in, I think technically the Ingleside Hotel and Convention Center in Water Park is in Pewaukee, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
But might as well be Waukesha. And they set up in kind of the convention space, or the ballrooms on the one end of the hotel, and had a convention during the worst weekend of winter weather we have had in quite some time, which colored the experience of many people, changed plans, and altered the course of the weekend events. But let's talk a little bit about Midwinter Gaming Convention. Troy, you registered to run events.
Yep.
You went.
I made my way through. Yeah. I was there Friday and Saturday. Friday afternoon when the storm was rolling in, we were there. John and I went out there to run a game. So yeah, as you said, it was a wonderful full-blown winter blizzard that hit us. Luckily, I am only 5 miles away from there, so it was a little bit of an adventure even with my all-wheel drive car, but was able to go over there and made it over there. And it was great to have that local. It's always been an interesting convention. When it was downtown, I always tried to stop in when I was downtown at work, but it always, again, the parking and everything else didn't make it as convenient as it is now. So, and as you said, like people, I think attendance is probably down a little bit from, because you just didn't, people were not going to just venture out to stop by or something else like that. You definitely had to be committed if you were going to go. Or people stayed on site. I mean, you had people on site who just kept gaming. I mean, they even lost power on Saturday morning, and everything I heard is they just like, whatever. There's emergency lights
And with some candles.
that just keep going. Yeah, I guess there was emergency lights enough to, like, you moved your game near a light and then you just kept going. That's what I heard. Like, I don't think anybody really like, and there was more, the hotel was just scrambling to make sure they had food and whatever that they could handle around that. But it sounded like that was more of a blip than anything else. I didn't even know they lost power, because we didn't go back until Saturday afternoon. They had their and they had their power back on by then. It was just Saturday morning, I think, when they were lost. So a good one there. Yeah. And Josh, I don't know how much you, or Ty, how much you guys walked there. Like, I went and then walked around a little bit, and it made me think about, like, all of a sudden I'm like, because that layout of that thing, it's like, this is really like a maze. Like, if you would just, I'd been in that hotel for quite a while. But yeah, the way that they had the rooms laid out, you needed a map to make sure you could find, if you weren't in one of the main, like that main hallway where the vendors were, in we had our games in the kind of the main ballroom right there. But if you were in one of the smaller ones, yeah, I think there might be people that are still lost, that might be off that never made it back out. So I don't know. Yeah.
And I know Troy's getting older, so I'm sure it was a little confusing for him. But I mean, there was like one side hallway with a few rooms, and that front area. Sure, you could get confused in the two rooms that split off. I understand how you could get stuck in the corner, Troy.
Did you find the bar?
I did. Yep.
The back bar.
Yep.
The restaurant? Okay. Like, you wander along and all of a sudden, boom, there's a bar. There's like a restaurant, like in the middle of like the dungeon.
And there was like the dealer hall, and then there was like the main area.
Yeah.
Where the
Well, that was
happened.
easy. That was easy. It was when you went down the hall to Oblivion or wherever, and then you're like, oh, and then you'd peek in, you're like, oh, look, here's a room of people playing games.
So what I will say though is the venue, the Hilton, where it was before, was weird, because it was always up on some random floor, like the fifth floor where their ballrooms are, and you felt disconnected from kind of the hotel. This, it felt like they took up like the entire kind of ballroom space of the hotel. So it felt like they used, the space pretty well. I'd be interested to see what happens. I think, because of the weather and attendance, and like, my plan was we were going to be going Saturday to stay at the hotel Saturday night, but Saturday morning the hotel called me, and my reservation was through like the Midwinter block, and they're like, hey, we don't have power, we're not sure if it'll come back on, we're offering guests a chance, if they have a reservation, to cancel, what would you like to do? So they were like pushing to cancel. Well, not really, but offering. And the convention, a lot of your commitment when you're renting space is to fill the room block and so like, it'll be interesting to see what shakes out and what happens, since Friday night around 9:00 they lost power, and it wasn't restored until close to 2 p.m. Saturday. So but that kind of changed how I was planning on attending. So like, Saturday afternoon, Landon and I just headed out for like a couple hours. So we stopped in and kind of wandered around, checked it out, saw Paul and Jen. Josh came and walked around with him a little bit, checked out some of the vendors, looked at what was being played, but kind of just did like a pass through, right? Didn't really play anything, didn't really, but got a day badge and kind of took it all in.
And you left, and no sooner did you leave than Troy showed up. You guys miss each other by about 5 minutes, which was hilarious.
Well, anyone watching on YouTube has to pretend they don't see us both. We're actually the same person. We just pretend to be different people. So,
Yep. You've never seen Ty and I run a game at a convention at the same time.
No.
I'll just say that.
nope, never.
So
Think
it's good.
about
Yeah.
that.
So I strolled in again. Josh was the connective tissue.
The
as I
ACL
strolled
of
in.
the BoD.
Yep.
That's what they call me. Captain ACL.
Interesting visual. Yeah. So yeah, strolled in there and that was Saturday. Yeah, because we had so maybe I can talk a little bit about Friday.
Yeah. Gaming in the dark.
Yeah, game. No, well we were in and out. So again, the storm was rolling in. We ran Friday at 4:00, 4 to 6, which was just as things were getting fun. And so we got there and we ran Zombicide. This is the one with Hagglethorn Hollow terrain. And we had a full, did we have, I think we had a full table. So I don't know, Leo, who's a kind of a fixture in local gaming. I don't know if you, he was, and he's played our games over the years. He was there, and then he actually recruited a couple more players. So we ended up having a full table, either a full table or 5. Either we had 5 or 6, and had a blast. I don't know if I talked about that. John and I had done a play test with that terrain, and we just we looked at it and just kind of made up a scenario, and we played it, and we were like, this is a lot of fun. Like I haven't had I love Black Plague and whatever, but I don't know if it's just the terrain, the immersiveness, it's really kind of tight packed, and so it's got some interesting strategy to it because how the different areas are kind of move around. But even when we play test, John and I were like, this is really fun. Like it's and I think even when we were there, the people there also had the same thing. We had a good game. Had some aspects to it, and then we ran just a 2-hour slot, but they did actually, I think they ended up getting it was just get the objectives and get out, and I think they did actually end up kind of finishing it. But we had like a time, we basically had this narrow kind of time snap that once we got to 5:30, basically then the whole point was just to get out. That we would just run. They had then no objectives, anything else. Their job was just to get off the board at that point, but they had actually got the last objective on that. So a lot of fun. Looking forward to running that again. And maybe I'll have to have you guys try it, because again, we've been playing Black Plague for years and years and years now. There's this something about, I think, the terrain and again, pretty basic scenario, but it's just, you're like, wow, it's just a little more fun than it really feels like it should. Not that it should be, but then we weren't expected. So
yeah,
so that was it. And then then we were like, we're gonna get out of here because our cars are getting buried, because that was and it still took me I don't know how long to get home. So yeah.
For anyone not in Wisconsin, I know the country has been hit with some really strange weather recently, but we got absolutely dumped on. It was close to a foot of snow. It was a heavy, wet snow. Trees were snapping power lines. Like, Wisconsin got just hammered by a winter storm Friday around rush hour into, Friday night. It was kind of like all day Friday into Saturday.
Yeah.
And I think probably closer to 14 inches of snow out by the hotel. So
yeah, we were, I was somewhere, I don't know what you were, Josh, but I was somewhere between 1.5 to 2 feet, I think, by the time it was all said and done, because it just kind of kept snowing. And I didn't, getting home, it took me longer to get home because I tried to take the more major roads, and what happened is, again, so much snow, like it broke a railroad crossing. Like the railroad crossing went down, and they couldn't figure out how to get it to go back. Like, I don't know if something like a tree fell over that, like, all of a sudden I'm coming up and then I see lights, and then I see someone, I was on a double lane road, and I see a car coming the wrong way down the road. That should be my first clue, like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. And so then I had to like take a detour, which again, snow crawling around, a normal day it would have been a 3-minute detour. It probably took me an extra 15 minutes to kind of just work my way around and go into Waukesha and so forth like that. So yeah, interesting adventure. I mean, nothing, whatever. It's Wisconsin. If you have 4-wheel drive, but it still was a little sketchy. Like, I'm glad I wasn't driving any further than I was driving. That's for sure. But that was our Friday, which again was in and out. Got there, I guess. Yeah, I wasn't there, but I guess then they lost power so I'm glad I left. And then we ran more late night Saturday. I think I did see Jen on Friday. I did stop by and say hi. Paul and Jen DK were in their Anvil 8 booth, and Paul was running some stuff there.
Yeah, so Paul, real quick to plug, has been writing a role-playing game for the last couple of years, kind of from the ground up. And he was running a number of games, I think 3 or 4 each day of Midwinter, just introducing people to it as it's in kind of a beta test, currently, looking to likely kickstart and publish in the coming year. So, but he was out there with that. And then obviously they had Refrigerator Girl, they had the Ethereum novel and the Ethereum role-playing game, I think some copies of Frontline. So they were holding down that corner of the vendor hall.
Yep. And then I'll just run through quick on how we got on Saturday. Again, ran into Josh, and then we did another stroll through. I'm sure Josh had been through the vendor hall a couple times, but we went through again. I like that vendor hall, even when it was downtown, a little bit. I mean, I would say compare it to, it's not as big as like Game Hole, but it has like a more of a crafty feel to it. Like there's a lot of vendors who are more kind of just doing kind of craft material, not necessarily gaming material, but they're craft gaming related material, anything from like, knitted sock thing, knitted dice bags or whatever. Like there's some really cool kind of in that crafty genre thing. So it's always cool to kind of see the people that show up at Midwinter one. And I will and then I know for good or bad, I don't know. Some lady was making dice, and so I told her to talk to Josh, and then I think they traded all their secrets about making dice. So I think Josh is now starting his company. He is announcing that next. So
I am not. I talked with Darlene, Darlene Wilson, who actually helps run the Game Universe in Franklin. I think she said.
Yeah, Darlene.
Yeah, she's super nice. She makes dice, and she had a booth there. And I was like, oh yeah, I just started trying to make dice, and she gave me a whole bunch of pointers, and super nice. So thank you, Darlene. It was really helpful. So yeah. And then I talked to somebody else that was selling 3D printed stuff, and talked to them a little bit about if he made the STLs, or he kind of cobbled some stuff together, and a whole bunch of fun, nerdy, crafty stuff, right? So like Troy said. So yeah, good times.
It was good. And then I held up Errant Fireball. This is kind of I think what I was getting the feel is this is kind of a family run affair. They're around the Madison area. And again, they were doing a lot of the D&D signs, or what I bought from them, but they had a lot of just really cool, again, like plaques. I'm trying to think what else he had. Some art, all kinds of little things that were all kind of cool. Like there was a lot of this. These were things that I'm like, I got to get something from these guys. So again, because we knew that everybody was not a lot of traffic too, just trying to support a few of the people in the vendor hall that make it worth their while. Because I'm sure they weren't making a ton of money, and they were spending their weekend there with all the snow and stuff. But there was good. I did also buy. I'm not going to show it. This is I know that people are hot and cold on. I did another guy I felt sorry for. He was doing kind of these adventure book games, and he's like, oh, I did this thing, and I even do all the art myself. And my thought was like, maybe you shouldn't. Like maybe you should hire somebody. because I'm not going to show him. I may actually play him with Sarah, but I mean, this like AI art was for like this guy. Like I know people are like AI, what like no, like this, yeah, either better yet. I mean, he hire a artist, right? But yeah, like he probably has a good. He might actually have a good game there, but and I couldn't, like, I felt sorry, and so I still bought 20. I gave him $20 for these, and he took these books, but
So
This
Troy,
is not where I expected that review to go.
yeah,
yeah,
so,
yeah, sorry. I like
It really
Troy-
took me off guard.
Troy, I'm going to share something with you that I learned from Brian Nairo, and that is how you casually engage with people at a booth. And when you see you have nothing at all that you're going to buy, you just create an exit. Just go, well, have a great weekend, good luck at the show, and walk away. And that's tried and tested. Like that's the way to just hit escape.
I don't want to hit, like, unfortunately, like he was just like you know, he wasn't
Before
he
you
was
know it,
like
you're going to be
like you're
playing a
by
game.
yourself. I know,
You're going to be
like
playing a game with airplanes and
yeah,
a
I know.
binder
Oh,
full of rules, getting a demo for like World War I fighter combat where the guy's making up rules so he can win. That's what's going to happen to you if you don't perfect the exit.
yeah, you know that I think that's a callback. I believe that's like Playin and Slayin episode 1 or 2. When do we have Brian on? 1 or 2?
It was
He
early.
I think
yeah.
he tells that story. So if you go back, if
Yeah.
people are not aware of what Brian tells the story of that at one of the Nexus rest in peace gaming conventions
Yeah.
in Milwaukee. But yeah, I was in a not quite as bad, but it was just I just know the guy, like they weren't making any money. None of the vendors were making any money, and I like.
Well, a vendor
I felt
made
bad, so.
$32 off of me because Landon saw that they had graded Pokemon cards.
Oh, yep, I saw that
they're
card too. Yep.
Sleeping Dragon Games. They are an online retailer that sells all sorts of like collectible card games and materials in West Bend, Wisconsin. But they had a Mewtwo from like Series 5 or Series 4. I don't know what set, but it was a PSA 10 Mewtwo and it was $32. So Landon had looked at it, had confirmed the price. I said, if you go ask him how much it is and it's actually $32, we can buy that on like, work it off credit. But you've got to do the talking. You've got to figure it out. So he went and talked to the guy and got the price. And then I was like, all right. So we bought a card for $32 from Sleeping Dragon Games.
Awesome.
I was a witness to that whole interaction. It was awesome.
Good job, Landon.
We tried to bargain with him.
No, Landon did price check it.
32.
No, Landon
down
did
to
price.
30.
Landon did price check it. He looked it up, and the guy's like, "Yeah, if you're price checking it, like this will be a fair price. It was graded." So, went for it, and then they had Lorcana product and a bunch of other stuff, and like they've got an online storefront. So, I'll likely buy stuff from them at some point in the future.
And then I said goodbye to Josh, and he went back to start shoveling his driveway again because that's all I had done all that day before I came was shovel and snowblow. And so, but then to finish it up, we John and I were running Zombicide Invader, 3D game there, and we had Jen and Paul were able to sneak in. They had some tickets, and I think we had a full game of that. And we actually ran it twice. We had a full game at 7, and then we ran it again at 9. And I think we had half. We only had like 3 people at 9, but or that. So, and that's a scenario we've done in the past. We kind of have that one down cold. Although I think they got, the 7 o'clock, they were kind of up against it. They got a little bit overrun, and they had to do a little bit of a Hail Mary. John kind of gave them an idea about, you guys might want to get the bot over there because that might be your only chance to maybe not all die a horrible death. And we might have, again, it's a good news about when you're kind of a little bit of GMing Zombicide. There may have been a little bit of like, they might have been an action short, maybe not. Like we made sure that they like just we're gonna tell the story because I think they were screwed and we were running out of time. So we're like, we'll get
They
close.
needed they needed to have somebody get the ship ready.
That's the whole point of that scenario. It's literally save the scientists and then go, and then there are 2 people are supposed to be holding the exit to get out, and
No, one of the pilots' name is Ty.
Yep.
You got to get the boat ready.
We will. We'll make sure they're named. We're running that one again too. So yeah, Ty. You just got one of the characters just got named. One of the scientists just got named Ty. That's for sure. All right, we're good. And that was it. And that was 9:00. And then John and I. So it was like 11, I think. Yeah, whatever. So we were out of there and said goodbye to Midwinter Gaming Convention. And so it was hopefully again. Yeah, and hopefully they work through all the financial stuff. Hopefully everybody has a lot of whatever understanding around. There's a lot of extenuating circumstances that weekend and things like that. But and then hopefully we're able to keep a tag on them. You'd hope a group like that too. I mean, I would be one if they needed to put a Kickstarter out to say, hey, we need to donate to do it. I think they'd get a good group if they need to.
Yeah, and
it is a few $1,000s or $10,000 or whatever it is to kind of at least make sure they can bridge the gap or something. So they'd hate to lose that convention. It's a good one. So,
and I was talking to Josh about that, and I think next year, granted, we are not a huge presence, but I think we've got enough friends in the local area where we should also consider doing like a midwinter takeover where we run games, we hang out. Like one night we just run games, right?
Yep.
We do different cool stuff. We build a local kind of community because that's what it is at the end of the day. And then the next day we like play games together and do whatever, but make a weekend out of midwinter because what else are we doing?
Yeah,
it's in the middle of January.
Yep.
Except for shoveling snow.
A lot of snow.
But yeah, so midwinter. Any other thoughts or cool things that we missed or saw? All right. So let's, before we finalize and wrap up episode 76, just a few things that we're looking forward to, kind of our usual categories: books, shows, games, events. But a few things as we look ahead. I'm not making any resolutions or goals. I'm just gonna, get through 24 organically and play what I play and paint what I paint and do what I do. So jotted down a few thoughts here. Let's start in the library. Let's do books and shows. I had to change mine as I was looking because most of this year I've been excited that Joe Abercrombie was going to have a book out in 2024, kind of a modern fantasy called The Devils. I did see a headline or a thought that perhaps that slips in the 25. So I did then say, well, Bloodsworn Saga Book 3. So Hunger of the Gods and Shadow of the Gods have been released. John Gwynne. And supposedly, I think August or July, we are on target for getting the third and final book in that Bloodsworn trilogy by John Gwynne. So that one was kind of, when I look ahead, what I'm most excited for in the coming year.
I'll second that.
Oh, I was seconding it. I'll third it now.
Well, I think I'm not good at looking ahead, but I think if memory serves, Rings of Power second season is still, even though there were some problems coming out this year, right, Ty?
Oh, for show, yes, and moving in the shows.
I thought we were doing both. Sorry.
Well, we can combine. Any books though? Did you have any books that you're excited for?
I think Monsters 11 and 12 will come out, and then Primal Hunter 9.
Okay, so you're set. You've got lit RPGs on the way.
Yeah.
These never-ending series. Nice. Love it. But yeah, I had heard Rings of Power was allegedly going to be coming. I'm trying to see if I can find that to confirm, because the writer's strike delayed a ton of stuff. Yeah, it doesn't yet have a release date, but filming has wrapped. So optimistically, we might see that like this fall or something.
I think I've watched the first season 12 or so times now, so I really need the next one to come out.
Oh, wow.
Diversify a little bit.
You're going hard in the paint.
Oh yeah,
It was a great show.
I loved it.
I think when it comes to TV, like Walking Dead has always been, no matter where they've gone and how long it's dragged out and all the spinoffs, um, there is the one season, I think it's a limited season of The Ones Who Live, which is the Rick Grimes like limited series. Rick's kind of return to the Walking Dead universe. Andrew Lincoln is great. I've always liked him, so I'm pretty excited for that one. I think it starts in February. But then also playing off Rings of Power, Amazon is bringing Fallout to a series, which is always a video game I've loved. Very excited to see what
Right.
they do with that world. The cast looks cool. The set design looks really awesome. Very excited to see what the Fallout series is like, and I think that debuts in April.
I'm glad you said Amazon because I was like, wait, how do they connect it again? Okay, yeah, I got it.
Yep.
I am interested. I heard Deadpool 3 is going to be out this year. And I've always enjoyed, like, they're just fun, superhero movies, right? So I liked 1 and 2, so I'm excited for 3.
Yeah.
And I mean, Ryan Reynolds, you can't go wrong, right? So
And I think it has everybody in the known world that's ever been in a Marvel movie that's
Yeah.
non-current
Bringing them all together.
cycle. Yeah, like Jennifer Garner, possibly
Yeah.
like her
Yeah,
Elektra.
right. Yeah,
Like,
Electra. I heard is coming out.
yeah,
what's his name's Wolverine? Hugh Jackman.
Hugh Jackman, yeah,
Yep.
he's in
I
it.
mean, it's
So
crazy.
yeah, it should be cool. I dig those movies. I don't know, for some reason the way they do Deadpool, it just hits different, right? So
Yep.
yeah, I enjoy those. So that should be fun.
No, it's good. Yeah, I'll second that one. I my books I already touched on that. The End and the Death Volume 3, the end of the Horus Heresy saga is going to be like I'm looking forward to it, but it's going to be weird that we finally get to the end. I'm sure it's weird for Black Library too because they're like, oh, how are we going to print
do we
money
do?
any now? Yeah. Around that stuff too, but it'll be interesting. Yeah, finally so when we get to there, maybe there's a whole episode on that whole how we got to there. And then shows that just top of my mind was, I don't even know what the date is, but Dune, when the second half of the Dune movie that I feel like should have been part of the first movie anyway. But like, why did you I don't know, why'd you give me half a movie? But so yeah, they owe me the second half. But again, love Dune and whatever. And I think they did a good job, even though they only did half a movie. But hopefully the second half is as good. So but I might be more excited for Deadpool 3. So I think I like yours, Josh.
How about like board games, role-playing games? I listed a couple, and I'll start. One I talked about in the Kickstarter, but Forsaken, Game Trays game should deliver this year. The other one I'm very interested. The Kickstarter I think was a while ago, but Restoration Games is bringing back crossbows and catapults, which when I was a kid was super fun. I think Danner had many copies of various crossbows and catapults in his house when we were kids, and I remember that just being a ton of fun. I'm very interested to see what Restoration Games does with that product. I didn't really look too much into the Kickstarter, but I saw that on a list of games shipping the retail this year, and I'm like, oh, that'll be something I'm sure I pick up.
Yeah, same. I when I saw you list that, I was like, oh, that's awesome. I'm totally in. That should be great.
I think I still have an original. If I go to the back corner, there's a few there. I don't have a ton, but there is some, because we had a bunch, and I think one of them, one box or something, is still in the deep archives of the BoD back there.
Fantastic.
So that's one of the reasons why I didn't get it. I'm like, what are you guys? What are we talking about? I still have that. I don't need to buy it again. What are we talking about? So,
Bryce, any of your Kickstarters that are hopefully delivering?
I think those are all on 2028. So when we, on episode 600 or so, we'll talk about Kickstarter fulfillment for me.
60,000 downloads from now.
Cool. Yep. And then I did have, speaking of Kickstarter from our, what is it? Forgotten Realms, forget whatever they are.
Awaken Realms.
Awaken Realms.
Awaken
Yeah.
Realms.
I'm crossing my D&D and I only had one beer, I promise. But the Nemesis, the third Nemesis Retaliation supposedly ships in 2020. I don't know. That's probably a pipe dream, but I saw it on lists for 2024. So other people are wishing to, but we'll see if that shows up.
Nice. All right, guys. This is likely the easy one. What about events? What are we looking forward to here in 2024 from a event standpoint?
BoDCon for sure. I mean,
Virtual BoDCon.
We'll have to FaceTime you.
I'll be there in person. You might not be.
Okay.
I think I'd get murdered actually if I was there. So
yeah.
you know.
Yeah. I think
You have a pass. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll let you get away with that one. Yeah, I mean, BoDCon will be that's going to be fun. Yeah, I think that's going to be really good. Adepticon, and just excited for that's. We're creeping up. I think we're under 60 days now, something like that. So, less than 2 months, so it's going to fly around that. So, but that's always a blast.
It's a leap year though, so you get one more day.
Thank God. I'm going to need it. I'll be painting that day.
Yeah, Adepticon might be the only. Well, I think I'll be good by Holy Havoc. So just to switch it up, I'll go with Havoc because unless we sneak no, it's probably going to be Adepticon and Havoc for me this year.
Yeah, mine is the next weekender. So don't know when it's going to be, but it will be.
Yeah, it's at Bryce's new house, isn't it?
Well, that'd be doable for sure. I got a basement of death of my own now.
Nice.
But yeah, lots coming. Probably won't hit NashCon this year, as I think about 25 being that, but hopefully get Josh and Troy to one of the holy events. Try not to schedule any 5Ks for the.
I'll try and read my calendar correctly.
But yeah, so that should be. I don't know what else we look forward to. Hobby projects, painting stuff, playing games with friends, but no resolutions. Any of you guys make resolutions, hobby related or gaming adjacent?
I did, and it's simply to do more of this. Just pick up a model that sounds fun and paint it. No projects, no crazy things. Just let's paint a model today.
Nice. I've got a whole bunch if you want to come paint models.
Cool. Yeah, and again, I don't know we always say it, but I feel like we have a few more solid plans for doing more with the podcast, trying to do some additional channels, some spin-off show kind of things. And I think I'm looking, like, I think a few of those we're gonna dip our toe in the water. We're gonna see if any of those stick, do some things, but I'm actually looking forward to us trying to do some of that stuff and continue to kind of grow I would say grow the podcast, because again, our goal is to do what we want to do, right? Like, if this wasn't be fun, we wouldn't do it. But I think there in that realm. I think there's a lot of fun things we want to do, and continue to go. Whether that's continue to get some guests on, and we're gonna thank Raph and other people too that help support us and kind of put us in touch with even more and more people that I think will help us do some of that too. So,
absolutely. All right. Well, let's get into the wrap up and then call it an episode so we can get this out to the masses on YouTube, on everywhere, Spotify and Google and iTunes and, wherever you listen, BuzzFeed and Bleacher Report and Barstool and just kidding. Just kidding. So upcoming events, we talked about Adepticon, Holy Wars. None of us will be in attendance, but that's in February here, like a week or two away. I know Jacob Berry's running a teams event down in Nashville. Interested to see how that goes. Second week in February. But yeah, so some cool stuff here in the near term, and Adepticon 60 days away, less than 60. That's insane. But yeah, we'll be there. We'll be around. Come say hi. I know some of the Goonhammer folks will be there as well. So hopefully we can do a mini meetup, or at least, wander past the Renaissance Bar and see Troy hanging out with his West Coast friends. But the rest of
Yeah, I
us will
wonder
be
if we'll
there
even see him
to
this year.
socialize. I doubt it, man. I doubt it.
Sunglasses on the whole time.
I
but,
heard-
so we can't
He's
I
see
heard
him.
the
by like
friends-
this.
I heard the Friends and Family event is no longer Friends and Family. It's just ticket overflow.
It's
For
yeah.
people that couldn't get in the events that know Troy.
You have to live
so-
on a coast to be able to get in there. East or West
unfortunately,
Coast.
I have too many friends and family, so now Friends and Family has become a ticketed event too. So
Yeah. I'll be running the counter Friends and Family event. I'll be doing a one shot of something. But anyway, Adepticon. You know where we're at. Playin Slayin Show on Twitter, basementofdeath.com, all of our emails, maybe someday on Instagram. I don't know. YouTube, like, subscribe, do all that fun stuff. Hit us up. Let us know what you want to hear us talk about in the year ahead. Find us when we're out and about. Play some games with us, but keep the dice rolling, the drinks on ice. And no matter what, keep playing and slaying.